Hello there, welcome back to Harmon Speaks. We have a special show for you today. I have two of the three people I love the most on the planet here with me today. Sorry CJ couldn't be here, but he lives in the great Northwest, so.
Oh, shout out to CJ, birthday on Sunday, turns 22.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, CJ!
But with us, to my far left is my wife Catherine, and to my immediate left, my son Nathan, and you know me. We're going to talk today about a trip we just took. We had the opportunity to go to Paris, France for a week, and we had a great time. We went to a lot of different places. The reason we're bringing you this show is not just to show you the pretty pictures, which they are, but to tell you a little bit about, or to encourage you to get out and do some traveling. The world is not what it used to be, and I find people are a lot more accepting and a lot kinder than they used to be. The last time I went to France was 33 years ago, and I promise you it's a different place today. And we'll get into how it was different as we go through this, but I hope you take some courage from this. If you've always wanted to travel somewhere, find a way to make that happen, because I don't want us to stay in our homes and afraid to be out into the world. Now, my lovely wife, it turns out all of us have talents we discovered on this trip. Catherine turns out to be a really good organizer. We always knew that. She's been keeping us somewhat organized for years, but she also is a good photographer and took some really great pictures that she's going to be sharing with you. Nathan is our punctual guy. He's the one that wants to be there on time. And Catherine and I are a little lax on that. So he got us there on time and kept us motivated. And once we got there, he's the one that helped the old man get through the building. So he was a really big help to me, and I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate what he did. And my talent, alors, je parle français.
Whee!
There you go, baby. So I haven't been there in a long time, as I told you. I thought I'd forgotten it all, and I didn't remember a lot, but I could get us through where we needed to go. I was somewhat conversant, and I had a good time trying. So it was fun. And one of the other things that I've noticed that they changed about is they don't get irritated when you mess up their language like they used to. 33 years ago, if you made a mistake, they're like, no, you should use the subjunctive and alors, and get really upset. Now they help you. I believe you're looking for this word, and will help you. And then if you clearly don't know what you're talking about, they'll speak English with you. Most people did. So if your language is not what you want, don't worry. You can still survive just fine with English. Now, Catherine, will you take us through a little walk through the pictures, please?
All right. We just got there, and there's some pictures there of the apartment that we have. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So just kind of, we had to put so you had to scan the apartment key to go into the lobby, which, of course, your first day there, you're kind of like waiting for the door to open. But it's a sliding glass door, and it opened, and we went in. But then you had to use your key to press the buttons on the elevator. So if you wanted to go up on the elevator, you had to slash your key and then press the number. And then when you get into the room, you had to put your key in this little slot to make the lights work, which was interesting because, of course, we didn't know that the first time out. But hey, then we found out.
We were standing in the dark apartment going, why won't the lights come on?
The lamp goes on.
Didn't we pay for electricity? I guess not.
That's extra.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we had the toilet in a closet, and then you had the bathroom and a sink, and Nathan had a twin bed that pulled out, which was good, and had the kitchen that we just used the refrigerator for, but that, and then our first day we went to
Versailles.
And what can you tell us about Versailles?
It's big and crowded.
And who lives there?
King Louis the 16th.
And
before
the
him.
15th
And
and
the 14th.
14th had it built.
Yeah. It was a hunting lodge, right?
Correct.
And when they do the hunting lodge, they gathered up all the animals to come inside the lodge. And then Henry would go out and kill them. I mean, Louis would go out and kill them. And that was his thing. But anyway, so they have a hall of mirrors in there, and 70% of those mirrors are the original mirrors, which was kind of cool because it was from, when was it?
Yeah, the 1600s.
1600s.
1700s.
Yeah. So Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th lived there when they came to get them and, you know,
And do not
Punish
let them
them.
take.
lop off their heads. That's right, they did. We're looking, it's like art was everywhere. It's like we looked up at the ceilings and saw all the ceilings had different art all over it, and the paintings were beautiful and huge.
Right.
And then they said something about the statues, that was King Louis's face, but I'm sure it was somebody else's body. And then going to the Hall of Mirrors, if you look up at the wonderful artwork in the top of the Hall of Mirrors, and there's Nathan and Gary, and you see Gary sitting down. And the mirrors in this building are 70% original. And they said they went and captured people from China and made them come over and make them. Is that right, Gary?
No,
Italy.
they
No,
go ahead, Nathan.
It was Italy.
it was Italy.
They were
Okay.
from Venice.
Ah.
Venice is a world-renowned place for making glassware.
Okay.
I was going to say, so Venetians are really good at making mirrors.
Yes, they are. Mirrors and bottles and all sorts of things.
I thought it was just amazing that 70% were the original.
Right.
And then there's the picture of Marie Antoinette and her children, and I think she lost 3 of them,
And probably was more. At least at the
or
beginning.
2 of them, or something like that.
The people of France were very angry with Marie Antoinette about a lot of different things right before the French Revolution. And one of the things they accused her of is buying a large number of jewelry. And so she had this painting made and said that she wanted to show her real jewels, which were her children. And she said the rest was not important. Her children was what important. And unfortunately for her, none of them survived past the revolution.
Well, except for her eldest.
Yeah, the eldest daughter.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next day we went to the Eiffel Tower. We have pictures of Nathan, and Gary decided that he wanted to save his legs for our second trip that day was to the catacombs. And so he sat on a bench and had lots of conversations with people.
UN meetings.
Yeah.
You solve the world's problems on that bench.
I met a lot of people from India particularly, which was interesting. One young man, when I was sitting on the bench, I had removed my prosthetics because it was hot and uncomfortable. And this young man came and sat by me and he said, "Where are you from?" And I told him I was from America. And he could tell that because I was chubby. But anyway, he said, do people in America who wear prosthetics take them off in public like this?
Oh.
And I said, if we want to, we do, yes. And he said that would be very unusual where he was from. And he said that people in his hometown, which I can't pronounce, usually if they have a disability, they work in their home. And usually it's like a computerized job over the phone where you're advising people. And that way, and this is his wording, not mine, that way the rest of them didn't have to see those people. And I asked him if my appearance was offending him. He said, "Oh, no." And I said, "Well, that's too bad." And I laughed and I patted him on the shoulder. And I said, "It's a new world, and you're going to have to get used to us." we're going to be coming out. I was like, okay. So he left, and this another group of Indians came and sat with me, and they had no problem with me. We had a very nice conversation. So you can't blame a country for this. Individuals feel the same way here in the United States. You know, it's not a factor of the country, it's a factor of the people in it. So.
Wow.
So we had the skip the line tickets, and they had a little thing saying, all right, 12:30 group, stand here. So we went and we stood there for a while. And then all of a sudden, they came and got us, and they ushered us through, and then we went to an elevator, right, Nathan? And then in the elevator, this woman who was from Japan, right?
I have no idea.
I think she was from Japan. And she's like, where are you from? I'm like, Tennessee. And I was like, well, who would I know from Tennessee? And I was like, Dolly Parton? And she's like, no. And I was like, Elvis? And she, Elvis! She knew who Elvis was. No Dolly. We thought everybody knew Dolly.
Every French man knew Dolly.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
Not all the
this is a
women,
woman.
but the French men knew her.
Wow.
So we went to the Eiffel Tower, and Nathan was very good about taking some pictures of me, and saw the Paris behind us. And we went to the first floor and got off and walked around. Then we walked up to the second floor, and we decided we didn't need to go to the very top. We bought our T-shirts. Show me your T-shirt. Yeah. And then we came down and found Gary and found a cab, and we went to the catacombs. And the catacombs was an interesting place. Gary, explain the catacombs.
I will. Catacombs is an underground area that the French have used to bury their dead. As the city has grown larger and larger, they annexed land around churches that were traditionally cemeteries, and the city would move the bodies from the cemetery to the underground catacomb. And they would put the sign up that said the name of the church, and then the cemetery lasted from this date until this date, and then you see rows of bones. And there would be in different categories. You see leg bones, arm bones, back bones, and then a row of skulls that would go across the front. And of course they asked you not to touch. I didn't see anybody who wanted to, but it was kind of creepy. But
did you feel anything?
actually I did. For those of you who know me, you know that I really love the paranormal. But I didn't along the walkway we took. There's one part shortly after we got down there was a big window where you could see catacomb lanes below us that we weren't going to be allowed to walk. Because the catacombs are a maze, and many people have gotten lost in it. So now you go down one way, walk in one direction, and come back up. And that's it. So you don't get lost, and they don't have to pay your family for money. The reason Catherine's asked me to talk about this is I did not do well in this area. And I always talk about getting out and doing stuff, but I want to be honest with you about things I didn't do well. It's a spiral staircase going down, and I have no idea how many steps we covered, but it was a lot. I don't do well on steps in the first place, and certainly not on the spiral staircase. So I went down a little worried that I'd slip and hurt myself, and it was hot as we were going down, cooler in the catacombs, but hot going down, and I started having this thought that this might be what it would like if I had to descend into hell. I was worried. I didn't know if I was going to, my legs were hurting really badly, and I wasn't sure I was going to get out too well. And when we got down there, everything was carved out of stone, so the ground was stony and wet. There was some water that had run through. So I grabbed the shoulder of my most reliable buddy here, and I think I probably dislocated his back, but he was a great kid about it, and he helped his old man get through the wall. And when we finally got to the other side, there was another spiral staircase back into the world. and I wasn't sure I was going to make it, but I started going up because there's no other way. They don't have a way for people with mobility impairment to do this. And so going up, I would keep going until I would look back and see a crowd behind me, and then I'd move over and let them go over past me. And I had a lot of fun conversations that way. One group were German and stopped and talked to me for a while, but it took me a very long time. And I finally got to the top, and Catherine had told the security guy about my difficulties, and when I got to the top, he came over and grabbed me by the shoulders, and he said, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." And he goes, "Did you like it at all?" Yeah, I did. And he said, "This was too ambitious for you." He said, "It was walking too far for a man with no feet." He said, "That was a mistake." And I said, "You're a little late on that announcement." And he moved some people off a bench and sat me down, and Catherine brought me something to drink, and I recovered. But that was a little scary. I can't say that I would go down and do it again. Maybe if I had more time, maybe if my prosthetics were a little more comfortable, but they're not, and so it was difficult. That was difficult for me.
And they're probably not going to alter it in any way.
Well, there's really no way they can.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was a failure on their part.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish is they could have described before you went down there how far it is to go down and how long the walk is.
But they saw you
Yeah.
before you went down.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, it's hard to make an assumption just based on the way I look or how far I can go.
That's true.
I might be, well, there's no way I could be athletic, but you understand. It's hard to say.
Well, I'm glad you made it out.
Well, thank you. I am too, because I thought about just lying down there with the other guys. I thought, you know,
I'm just going to lay right here.
I'll smell bad for a while. No, I don't
No,
wanna
you
do
have to
that.
come up.
No. And besides, Catherine and Nathan don't speak a lot of French, so they needed my help. So anyway,
I got
did
good
make
at the parlez-vous anglais? So, all right, so the next day we went to
Chambord.
Chambord, which is in, Gary?
It's outside of the city of Blois.
Blah.
Blois. It's B-L-O-I-S. Blois.
Blah.
And we took a train there. I'm going to turn back over in a second. But when we got there, we went from Blois through 3 other villages to where the chateau is. And the 3 villages were built in the 1300s. And everything other than the cars in the area and the light wires were ancient and beautiful. And there's a lot of farmland in the area. I would love to stay there for a few days. Okay, Catherine.
So we had to figure out the train station to go get to, because we had tickets to get us to Chambord, but we did not have the tickets to get into Chambord. She's like, "You can do that part," because we went through AAA, and Sophie Teague was wonderful. Thank you, Sophie. And so we had this one train. We had to figure out which train we're supposed to be on and where we're supposed to go, and that was exciting. And then we had to trade trains, because there was we couldn't get the one that went straight there. We had to go to a train station, go to a different train, and ask other people where we're supposed to be. And that was interesting, wasn't it, honey?
I got used to asking stuff like
Yeah,
that. With it.
right. And then when we got to Chambord, Gary got a wheelchair, and Nathan was pushing around. They decided to visit the restroom. And I went and bought tickets, so I bought 3 tickets. And then they came and joined us, and the woman looked at me, he's like, "Oh, your husband has a disability? He's free." And gave me 33 euros back, and I was like, "Cool, I got some euros."
Merci.
Yeah. And so,
A euro roughly equals $1.
a euro's,
A little less.
no, a little more.
Okay, sorry.
It's like $1.10.
Okay.
So,
you
yeah,
might be able
it's
to
more.
outbid it.
Euros or more.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a picture of Nathan pushing Gary into Chambord. And Gary, with those steps there were really, I thought they were difficult. What do you think, Nathan?
The steps.
Yeah, going up in Chambord.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. So Gary decided to just stay downstairs, and so we went around downstairs, and then Nathan and I went upstairs. And you can actually go on the roof, and I swear they have a fireplace in every room. And Gary, while you were downstairs, did you get hot?
No, it was wonderful because it's very open. The castle is built in a cross shape, and all four directions are wide open, so the breeze is blowing constantly. It's very nice.
And so we went out on the roof and looked around, and then we had our cab driver agreed to come back and pick us up at, like, what was it, 5 o'clock?
I think it's around 4.
4. It was 4 because because we had to get our train to get back, and so Nathan was keeping up with the time, weren't you, Nathan? And he was there. We were like 15 minutes early, and he was probably about 13 minutes early. So it all worked out great. And we took the train. Our train back was just a straight shot, so we didn't have to trade trains again. So, all right. And then next day we went to the Louvre.
And what is the Louvre?
An art museum,
Yeah, what
was
did it
it?
used to be?
a castle.
There you go. It was the castle for the kings of France until Louis XIV decided to go to Versailles. So,
Yeah.
good job.
So here's Nathan with the pyramid in his background, and Gary and Nathan with the sin behind him. All right, so we go to the Louvre, and Gary goes up to somebody who works for the Louvre. All right, and they're like, "Oh," and they start speaking French, and all of a sudden we're going in front of all these people that are waiting in line. We have our tickets. We have our tickets, but they never asked for them.
We didn't need them.
Did not need them.
Wow.
So we went in, and Gary got a wheelchair. All he had to do is give him his license, and then we went to see the Mona Lisa. Now, the Mona Lisa, what did the front of it look like, Nathan? All the people were doing,
Yep.
standing in a zigzag line like a
Yep.
movie theater when you have to stand and wait. That's what they had, and then at the very front of it, they opened the gate and say, "Here, Mr. Harmon, come look."
So we went actually
in front
of the crowd.
everybody.
And was
And then
close to-
we're getting, all right, so I took the picture of the Mona Lisa with nothing in front of it, and we're getting ready to go, and the person who worked from the Louvre that was on the other side, no, go back in there and get his picture with the Mona Lisa. And so we did. And there's a picture of Gary.
Mona
Lisa.
loves me. What can I tell you? We've known each other for years, so
Yeah.
it was good to see her again.
And they had these little tables outside to get something to eat, so we sat at the table, and Nathan, that when you had a chocolate muffin because they didn't have
Yes.
the sandwiches that they said they were going to have. All right, we turned around and we saw Venus de Mayo. All right, and then when we were going out, we saw a Starbucks. It was really funny because CJ used to work at Starbucks. Oh, CJ, you work at the Starbucks in the Louvre. And definitely not have enough money to live in Paris. And so we kind of felt like Hotel California, right, Gary?
Yeah, because we couldn't find the exit. And we wound up wandering through the parking garage and finally got out where we wanted to be, but it was crazy.
So,
We
and
were
then,
singing, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
You did not take the stairs.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But when we went outside, you could see the Eiffel Tower. So I took a picture of Gary and Nathan from the Eiffel Tower. And then are you going to tell them about the cabway or the...
No, we'll skip
All right,
that.
we'll just skip that one.
Just for your benefit, before you get into a cab in Paris, you need to make sure, number one, that they're wearing a cab driver uniform, which is long pants and a dress shirt. They should have a monitor that will tell you how much you owe at all points, and they should have a ham radio. If they don't have those three things, it is not a taxi.
4.
Don't get it. It's not a taxi. It's somebody who wants to make a little extra money. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did you forget about the thing that says that there are a taxi on the top?
Yeah, there you go. You're right. And that should be on the top as well. And we're not going to cast any aspersions at who didn't notice that or who did. Who cares? We got out safely, and he tried to overcharge us, and I reminded him that I outweighed his entire family, and we got out fine. But it was a little scary there for a moment.
We had a nice little tour of France, though. Paris. All right.
Inadvertently. Yeah.
All right, so then on Tuesday, we went to the Musée d'Orsay.
Yes. When we got there, if you look to the right, there were about 500 people lined up to get in. Look to the left, about 200 who had the skip the line tickets still in the line. And we walked up. I told the guard who we were and what we needed. And he walked us between the two groups into the museum. And once again, we got a wheelchair today. That day, Catherine drove me around, and we saw Impressionist work. We saw some sculpture. We even got to see Rodin's Gates of Hell, which has the Thinker. All kinds of stuff. Beautiful museum. Had a great time. And my second favorite lunch, I'd have to say that.
Right.
But they were really nice. I really, really loved that museum.
And the trouble things, all these places were built long before elevators were. So it was hard figuring out where the elevators were and what could get you to the certain place you went to. Because the Rodin stuff was on something that had stairs. But I didn't know where the elevator was to get where you wouldn't have stairs. And so what we did is Nathan and I went through and looked at all of it, and then I came back, and Nathan stayed with the wheelchair, and Gary put his legs on and walked down and looked through all the Rodin stuff and came back up.
That's a smart way to do it.
You know, I mean, Nathan just stood there with the wheelchair, no big deal. So he's a good guy. And then we went to, can you say it?
Can you say it?
Sacre-Cœur.
Close. Sacré-Cœur. Very
Sacré-Cœur.
good. What does it mean?
Something church. Church something.
Cœur is heart. It's Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart.
Just like the cathedral here in Knoxville.
Right.
Which looks a little like it. Go ahead.
And so we got a cab after we got done at the Musée d'Orsay, and Gary's like, I really want to go see this church. And it's like, okay, we took a cab ride. So we took the cab ride, and I'm like, all right, Gary, you cannot let this cab just drop us off because we won't have a cab way home. You know, and it's like, talk to him. And he talked to the cabbie, and the cabbie's like, okay, I can wait for 10 minutes. And he's like, that's all I need is 10 minutes. And he stopped the charge for the 10 minutes that we were out.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really
American
nice.
cab driver.
Oh no.
No.
Where was he from?
He was from Monaco. His name was Malik, and I promised to say his name because he's going to watch this. Thank you, Malik. You gave us one of the best afternoons on our trip. And there was another cab driver, also from Morocco, that gave us a very pleasant tour as well. And his name was Beau. I thank both of you gentlemen. You made us happy to be in Paris. Thank you.
Good.
So Nathan and I and Gary all went up. We saw the rail that had all the locks on it. Why did they put locks on it?
Lovers in Paris put them on the fence as a signal of their eternal love. So then the Parisians come along and cut them off and throw them away. Which I think is very funny. But
And there was a service just coming out of the church, and we did not feel comfortable going into the church, so we stayed on the outside. And they were singing.
Was it like Despacito that you're doing?
Despacito. And they were having a good time, and they took a picture of Gary and Nathan with Paris behind them.
it's a beautiful view of the city
Right.
on Montmartre. It's the area where artists used to, in the late 1800s, stand out and paint the Sacré-Cœur and various things in Paris. And now they still have artists that stand out and do that. The area leading up to it is, in my opinion, one of the prettiest parts of Paris. It's really lovely.
And then we went to our last dinner, and I can't remember the name of the place, Who Gets or something like that.
Yeah, you get, I don't know. It's a cafe.
And It was really, really good. And then we had the groom ice cream afterwards. The person at the front desk at our apartment said, "You're going to pass other places that sell ice cream. Do not go there. You must go to Groom, Grum. That is the good ice cream." And then when we had our that last dinner, the ice cream place just happened to be right by it. So,
Strategic.
yeah, very.
Well,
And so, and we get this bottle of Coke, which cost over €7.
Oh!
Yeah, and that's all you got, and they would, every time they put a lemon in it, and then some ice, and then pour your Coke in it for you. And so, yeah.
but one thing that's different from the last time I was there is you get your soda or wine or beer or whatever it is you want. And then if they know you're a tourist and you've been walking all day, they'll bring you a carafe of water as well. And in the old days, they wouldn't do that. You're going to pay for both. But they don't do that anymore. It was very kind, so I enjoyed that.
Right.
And the food was scrumptious.
Yeah.
We don't have pictures of it, so I can't really show you, but I had a beef bourguignon that, oh my Lord, it was delicious. We had some fish that was delicious. And we ate at a bakery patisserie one day for lunch. And they had this ham and cheese concoction that was, I'm sure, made by angel hands. They were delicious. And we had these tarts with different raspberry and strawberry.
Nathan had strawberry, we had raspberry.
It was to die for. So the food was
You're killing me. You're killing me.
I'm hungry now, so I wanted to talk about
So-
it. Anyway, go ahead.
Our plane flight in the morning left at 9 a.m. And for an international flight, you're told that you should be there 3 hours early. And so we ended up being in the hotel lobby, was it 5:15?
Yeah.
I think it was,
Yes, it was.
5:15. And got a nice van ride to the airport. And, and it was a very long flight, which, it's the traveling day is your 26 hours awake day if you don't sleep on the plane. And we were all three together on the flight back, which was nice. And then we got to Atlanta, and there was a thunderstorm, so our plane got delayed by an hour. But we got there at about 12:30. Eastern Standard Time, and then our flight left at 6:30, so we got delayed to 7:30. So, it was a long day, but having things planned, when you go, having things planned, and you're going to get up and go the next day, you're excited about being there, and it's just fun, and you live with it and move on.
Right.
It's tomorrow. Right now, it's tomorrow in France, right? Or is it?
Well, it's
Yeah,
6
6
hours.
hours.
It's midnight.
Almost,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it is.
It's midnight there. Yeah.
Right. And I have a friend of mine who was getting ready to go to France, and she was in England, and she called me over Facebook Messenger to talk to me about France. And that was really cool. Yeah.
Now, we visited a lot of different places. Some scared me to death, but we still got through them. The only place we visited I did not like was the Atlanta airport. I don't know why anybody in their right mind goes to Atlanta airport. There are a lot of great things in Atlanta.
The lovely train ride to get to.
I don't even mind that, but what I didn't like was every now and then somebody get on the intercom and say, "Hey Neil, you need to come get your blah, 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 blah," and they would say these things over the intercom. And I sat in the chair going, there are children running this airport. And it just made me crazy.
Well, and they would also lecture about you can only have 2 bags. If you have a purse, ladies, that counts.
That's a bag.
That's a bag. So combine your bags. And then having to do it over and over again when you're like, these are adults. Why don't you just say it once?
Well, if they don't follow the rules, pull them aside.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. And when we went through customs in Atlanta, we had to go through the passport check, And then we get to another room and had a nice guard touch us in areas we don't want to be touched. And so Gary thought it'd be a good idea to run to the restroom before we go through that experience. And I did. Family followed. And on the way back, this lady guard stopped me and wanted to know what I thought I was doing. And I said, I believe I was going to the restroom. And she said, but you just got your passport checked. Yes, ma'am, I did. Well, you can't leave and go back to the bathroom after you get your passport checked. Looks like I did. Yep. And she was very upset. How did you get in there? I was watching. I said, you were talking to your colleagues and you missed me. And she was going to tell me that I had to go through the whole line again, which I was not, I can assure you. And finally, a man in the booth near the doorway going into the other room called us over, checked to make sure we had indeed gone through, and let us go on.
We actually went through it twice, because remember he had to take our pictures.
He had to take our pictures,
You get your picture
and he
taken.
clicked it and said, yeah, you're Gary Harmon, right? Yes, okay, you've checked in, you're fine.
So.
And so we went to the door and went on and got my fanny spanked by a guard. But anyway, that's the only part I hate about traveling. But anyway, we got through that and it was okay. And this was a long episode. I hope you don't mind that we shared this all with you. But the message here, and I do hope you'll hear it, is that the world is changing. There is room for no matter what you look like, no matter what does or does not work, whatever barriers you might find in the world are not enough to stop you. I hope you will get out. You will discover this gorgeous world we have and find out on these trips. You can even find out what your family's really made out of. And I am proud of mine. I enjoyed traveling with them. They were wonderful. They're loving. And I appreciated the whole experience. And I felt I came home not financially, but at least spiritually richer than I was when I left. Please get out there and enjoy the world. Bon voyage. Please like and subscribe. Please hit the bell for notifications, as our schedule is not as usual as normal. Yeah, Neil's working now finally, so good for him. And we love you. We appreciate your support and what we're trying to do here. Please come back next time. Thank you. Au revoir.
Au revoir.